At last weekend's Republican Party showdown, I spoke to Congressman Byron Donalds, the clear frontrunner for the Republican nomination for governor. Do you think that you are the Republican nominee at this point and that this race is over?
Well, I don't treat it that way. We have 52 days to go. Now, we are doing incredibly well in polling. We're over 50%. That's a major indicator, especially when you're this close to the votes being counted on August 18th. But we're knocking doors all across the state of Florida. My campaign has knocked 150,000 doors. We're doing field surveys at those doors.
So why not debate? Why not have a debate with your other colleagues so that the voter can see you side by side with someone?
8%, 5%, 2%. That's where they're polling. Single digits. We're at 55. It's not been close for a while. They've had 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or however long some of these guys have been in a race to travel the state of Florida like I have, to try to earn the support from voters in the state of Florida like I have, and they just have not been able to do it. I think if you look at their campaigns, anybody looking at it, any metric, you already see that these campaigns don't have what it takes to win a statewide election. So why would I then help them raise their credibility or raise their name ID or raise their view with the people of Florida? It's not my job to help them. We're going to be focused on the next 52 days. My advice to them, they should be focused on the next 52 days and trying to get the people of Florida to decide if one of them should earn their support. But if the next 52 go like the last 6 months have gone, we already know where this is going.
Since we last spoke, the legislature passed and placed on the ballot the property tax amendment that's going to be on there. I want to get your impressions, and then I want to ask some specifics about it. Are you supporting the amendment, and do you think that this is the best plan that the state could have come up with?
Look, I do support the amendment. What the governor has been trying to accomplish, what a lot of us have been trying to accomplish, is finding ways for the people of Florida, especially our seniors on fixed income, our working families, to keep more money in their pocket. So I do support the amendment. Whether it passes or whether it does not, we are going to implement the will of the people of Florida. If it doesn't, what we're going to do next year is use the Tax and Budget Commission to bring this back, study it in far more detail, and try to find a way to give that real relief to seniors and to working families with a goal of eliminating homestead property taxes in our state.
Is this the plan that you would have put forth? I mean, if you had been the governor this year and putting forward a plan, does this meet your requirements for a good plan?
Look, everybody would have had different ideas. My idea was moving the homestead exemption to $300,000 or $400,000 a year, and then finding some ways to do some revenue offsets. But at the end of the day, this is the policy that moved through the legislature in both chambers. So now it's going to be in front of the voters. The voters are going to decide. 60% of Floridians are going to decide. Are we going to move to higher levels of homestead exemption, or are we going to keep the same system? And I will add you, Jim, the current property tax system in our state is not working. It's got major flaws. Number one, people who are trying to get into the housing game, they're being priced out. You go to try to buy a new home and you have to now allot in escrow for those taxes, makes it more difficult. You got seniors and people who've lived in our state a long time, they're trapped in their houses because they've accumulated Save Our Homes credits over so long. And if they go to another property, they lose all those credits and their property tax bill jumps through the roof. So look, whether it's the governor's plan that's come out now or other plans in the future, everybody has the same goal. We have got to frankly, provide real relief to people in Florida because the property taxes are out of control.
But it does sound as if you're telling voters that if you reject this proposal, you will come back through the Budget and Tax Commission, put a new measure on the ballot that may actually work a little bit better for them.
Of course. And look, if it doesn't work out this way, and I want it to work out, I want it to succeed. But if it doesn't,
let me just ask you why, because you're going to inherit this. Because
yes.
if a mediocre or bad plan, I get what your point is, which is we need some relief.
Yes.
But I would imagine, as governor of the state moving forward, you would rather have work within the confines of a good plan that maybe is a year later in coming than a bad plan that voters vote on now. You see where I'm going with this? In other words, is it better to wait a year and do something more, as you sort of described, more thoughtful, more full?
Well, first I will tell you that when you're talking about somebody's pocketbook, they can't wait a year. You know, that senior who's living in Miami-Dade or living in Orlando or Hillsborough County or even some of our smaller counties, their budgets don't slow down and wait for Tallahassee to figure out what comes next. There's a plan on the ballot this November. We will see what the voters do. I'm going to support the amendment. I think we should, because at the end of the day, they do need relief. There's no doubt about that. If it fails, we're going to bring it back next year. And then we'll have to look at what went wrong in this amendment and then find new ways to actually make it be more durable so that the people of Florida can support it.
I want to raise one other topic and then I'll let you go. And it's something else that you will inherit, which is the aftermath of Alligator Alcatraz, which is right now, my understanding is the estimates are it's cost the state about $1.2 billion. Of that, the federal government has reimbursed the state of Florida so far $58 million, so less than 5%. First of all, realizing this was not your idea, for Alligator Alcatraz, looking at it in hindsight, with the amount of money that was spent, and the promise at the time that it would be cost efficient, and now realizing it was anything but cost efficient, do you think it was a mistake to create Alligator Alcatraz?
No, I think if you look at what has happened in our country, remember how we got here. We're here because of terrible Democrat policy around open borders and rampant illegal immigration, brought to us by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrat Party. President Trump was given a mandate to control our borders and to deport criminal illegal aliens. State of Florida stepped up to that mission and Alligator Alcatraz was created. If you look at the costs, by cities, by states, of what illegal immigration has brought to our country because of reckless Democrat policy, that pales in comparison to the cost of Alligator Alcatraz. Now, I will say we always knew it was going to be a temporary facility. Once the Department of Homeland Security and ICE were going to have the resources they needed to stand up their own facilities, then the Alligator Alcatraz facility would close. Obviously, the governor is working hard with the president and the Department of Homeland Security to get those reimbursements back. As the state's next governor, we're going to continue to work with the federal government to get us reimbursed for that facility. But was it worth it? Yes. Because we had to actually stand firm on getting criminal illegals out of the state of Florida and out of the United States of America, because that is the mandate that the American people gave President Trump.
Let me just put it in perspective for you. When ICE picks up an individual and they places them in a local jail or private prison or wherever else they usually place them, the average daily per bed cost for a detainee is anywhere from about $165 to about $245. All now in, when you now look at Alligator Alcatraz, the cost per detainee to house them at Alligator Alcatraz turns out to be $3,571 a day. $200 versus $3,500. I understand the desire to collect people, hold them, process them, deport them, but I guess what I'm wondering from a taxpayer standpoint, did this make the most sense to have a facility so remote that you had to bring everything to it, raising the cost that high? Could it have not been done at a different location, which wouldn't have had the bells and whistles of Alligator Alcatraz, which I think people got caught up in, and would have been more efficient for taxpayers?
I mean, look, you probably could have found a different way to pay for it, but understand, Jim, when you're using these other facilities that you're talking about, those are existing prison and county jail facilities. If you actually then have a bunch of criminal illegals in those facilities, what does it do? Those facilities just don't expand. You have to have the additional infrastructure in order to do that. You couldn't overwhelm the county jail system. That would actually make our law enforcement capacity be in a more negative picture, because you wouldn't have the bed space for local law enforcement or sheriffs to be able to arrest people who need to be held and taken off the streets when they commit crimes here in Florida. So you needed a temporary facility. Let's not try to take that away. You needed temporary facilities. This was a temporary facility. From the cost perspective, is it high? Yes. But we're going to work with the federal government and get reimbursed, and then we're going to move forward.
And you're confident that Florida will get full reimbursement?
I'm very confident that we're going to get reimbursed on this facility.
He better hope he can get reimbursed, otherwise that could blow a very big hole in his budget if he's elected.